Welcome to Tibalt's Apprentice, episode number 24. Wow. And with another rare treat, I'm joined by Josh. Josh,
Mike,
glad to have you here. All right.
Always a pleasure.
So here's the thing. Tibalt's Apprentice is far from what I initially intended it to be. But it's about playing Magic, and it's about Magic cards, and I thought it would be fun for each of us to take a look at our decks. Now, last time we did a show, I took one of my favorite decks and talked about some of the cards that were in there. So I invited Josh to come and talk about one of his, your favorite deck? Just one you like to play? Just.
So, Mike, you asked me to bring a deck and just break it down. Mm-hmm. And this is one of the few decks that I actually put together myself.
Oh,
so
okay.
I probably have, I don't know, tens and tens of commander decks.
Right.
A lot of them are pre-con still in their original pre-con. I mean, I've taken them out of the box and I put them in the sleeves and I play them.
Right.
I certainly didn't build those. And then there's others that I see on websites and I get ideas and I'm like, ooh, that looks like it'd be fun to play. And so I'll put that together. And I didn't want to bring out a deck that was somebody else's.
Okay.
I mean, without citing them.
Sure.
And some of these are from so long ago that I can't remember.
You can't possibly remember where you got it. Okay.
Yeah. So here's one that I built myself.
Another reason why I appreciate this is because, as far as I'm concerned, completely selfish here. I play with a great trio for Commander. And everybody's been on the show at this point. So Brian's been on here. Enrique's often on here. Josh, we're lucky enough to have join us occasionally. Brian and I think most alike, I want to say. And this is just my opinion, just as far as the game of Magic goes, as far as the cards that we use, though often Brian is further outside the box than I am. And I like that, so that's good.
What do you mean you think most alike?
With the cards, with the kind of plays that we want to make with the strategies and stuff like that. Enrique and I have a similar, this is my opinion of how it goes, but we have similar taste, but he often offers ideas and embellishments that I hadn't thought of yet. And you and I, nothing wrong with this, but I'd say we're on opposite ends of the spectrum.
Okay.
And that's great, because like I said, purely from a selfish standpoint, I have everything represented that I need to be a better Magic player. You know what I'm basing this on, of course.
I don't.
You don't?
No. Help me out here.
It's got to be the Elixir of Immortality.
Oh my goodness.
That's the best card ever, and it's completely underrated.
No, it's not. It's a terrible card. Every time he plays Elixir of Immortality, when there's nothing going on in his board state and he needs desperate action and he pulls Elixir of Immortality, I just facepalm. Immediately facepalm. For some reason, he gets some.
Some perverse pleasure out of it. I really do love it.
It drives me crazy.
So exactly.
You need action, and you draw and play Elixir of Immortality. I mean, granted, you get 5 life.
I get 5 life. I get my graveyard back, provided somebody hasn't, exiled it.
There are some synergies with that card, but you play it in everything.
And as I amended last week and stuff, it's just to kill him. But I think that represents it, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. We agree on a lot of things and so on, but you bring a very different perspective to Magic than I do, so that's my opinion. So I'm excited to see what you got for us here today.
All right, cool. So I will say that I have a wide range of decks. Mm-hmm. Some are much more degenerative than others.
Okay.
This is one of the more degenerative runs, and it's not even I think this could be way more oppressive. But I've played it. Mm-hmm. I don't play it very often anymore because the deck is kindly called "Take All the Turns," mm-hmm. and we'll get to that in a minute. But this deck really goes against one of my basic tenets of Magic, Commander Magic, and that's just creating these completely non-interactive turns, or lots of turns where it's one person playing solitaire and the other people just watching, and it becomes very uninteractive and just I've been on the other side of that and it sucks. I cry salty tears.
Was this an answer to that, or was it just?
It was. It
absolutely was. Okay,
yes.
Fair enough. Sure.
As a matter of fact, Enrique, who you had on the podcast, has on the show. Excuse me.
whatever. I don't know what it is myself either, but
he's played a similar version of this deck. At least he plays a very similar version, and I wanted to make my own just to do that to him.
Fair enough.
And so here's the deck. It's an Izzet deck. The commander is Mizzix of the
Izmagnus. Sure, okay.
Making all my instants and sorceries cheaper.
Right.
Which really creates some busted interactions with him at 3 or 4 or 5 experience.
Right.
The deck plays 11 take another turn spells in this row.
Okay.
Pretty much anything that has the word temporal in it seems to be in this deck.
Okay.
Temporal mastery, manipulation, trespass. It's got Nexus of Fate, which gets, you get the loop.
Yes.
Often. You get to turn 6 or 7 or 8 on this deck, and there's a good chance that you're not taking another turn.
Right.
It has a lot of. It has got 19 card draw, card filtering type spells. That's this row right in here. From some of the basics like Ponder and Brainstorm.
Okay.
Treasure Cruise.
Let me go
time.
back to the you're taking extra turns though.
Yeah.
Are there any of those that stand out or have forgotten, or you're just everything is playing standard? You said you've got Dig Through Time, you've got through. Anything else that maybe has been forgotten or you haven't seen, or usually the Dig Through Time, or rather the time, take another turn spells are so iconic and stuff. You're going to see them in any deck that wants to take an extra turn.
Yeah, and I know in Enrique's deck he plays like 18 or 19 of them. He plays a lot of take extra turn spells. I've eschewed a lot of those for card draw so I can get to those spells. It doesn't play a lot of lands. As for any of the iconic spells in here, I really like Expropriate. Oh my gosh, that card is disgusting. I think it was it a Battle Bond? I can't remember. Let me see, I've got it right here. And CN2, what was that? I don't remember the set. I don't remember the set off the top of my head.
Oh, that's Conspiracy, isn't it?
Yes, it is Conspiracy.
Yeah. That's funny you should bring that up.
Why?
Well, something else that I
card.
had something in the box here. Because it sounds like I'm saying, when I say you and stuff, I don't mean to point fingers or whatever, but in the group, often you seem to tend to like the Monarch mechanic, or you have cards that do that.
I've got a couple of decks kind of designed around the Monarch mechanic.
Yeah, so from now on, I plan on
dear God.
bringing this to the game, so it's pretty clear who's the Monarch at the table, and I know exactly who to attack, or I could be wearing this. Though I seldom seem to get that, but anyhow, that was
that's great.
A side note. But anyhow, getting back to this.
Okay, so aside from the 11 take extra turn cards, aside from the 19 card draw, card manipulation type of things from Stroke of Genius and Thirst of Knowledge, Serum Vision, some very cheap cards, Treasure Cruise, Dig Through Time, Ponder,
Right.
Brainstorm I mentioned already. We have some make your cards cheaper. We have 3 creatures in the entire deck, and 2 of them are designed to make your spells, your instants and sorceries cheaper.
Even cheaper.
This deck is mostly instants and sorceries. Boral, of course, Chief of Compliance is great. Goblin Electromancer, both of them right up your alley with what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And even Primal Amulet does a similar.
I'm going to be so sad when Primal Amulet rotates out. I may shed a tear. I just love it. And it's playing it in standard. I'm playing it in standard right now, and I'm getting just tons of mileage out of it. I've got a few. It's just awesome. It's just awesome. You can watch other videos of me playing on Arena or whatever, and you'll know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's great card. Sad to see it go, but I'm happily be putting it in some of my other commander decks.
Nice.
Anyhow,
I have a little bit of counter spell. I only have 6 spells here for counters, but if you have just that one, absolutely you need to get.
So often I've been caught just by that one critical juncture where I'm just about to go off or whatever, and it's like, nah, I don't think so. Yeah. So.
That's right. I'm very judicious in the use of these spells. First of all, there's not very many in the deck, but there's a lot of ways to get to them. And there's a lot of times where, and we'll be playing in the play group, and there'll be some very busted thing that happens, but as long as I'm not in any imminent danger of getting killed, I don't, like I said, I'm very judicious.
That's what I was going to ask you. So you
got to be patient.
For just, I don't understand. What was that word?
Yeah.
What is that word?
That's a big difference between our play style, by the way.
Exactly. And we talked about the fact that we have different ideas on cards and stuff. It's not necessarily cards. It's strategy and it's play style. I don't have the patience. I'm trying. I'm working on it. I want to.
Causes his downfall.
I want to, but it's absolutely. I'm first to admit it.
Although I've seen him get better in recent months.
Well, I've worked at it for sure.
And to deadly effect.
Yeah.
To good results for you.
I was going to say,
not so much for me.
The most recent time that I played this, I believe, and I won, it was only because I got to my infinite combo. It was because in my Wizards deck, I managed to get to the Merfolk.
Oh.
And I managed to get to infinite turns just before you got to infinite turns. I don't have a really good win rate against this deck for obvious reasons, but you've got the cards in there. You're holding them strictly until you're in trouble. You said something earlier about this, and maybe jumping ahead, I don't mean to, but you're light on lands, or...
Oh, we were talking about this before we started the cast.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's only 32 lands, and it's mostly islands and mountains. There's not very many non-basics in the deck. As a matter of fact, I think there's only like 8 non-basics.
Okay.
5 of those 8 are dual lands, or effectively act as dual lands.
Right.
The other 3 are utility lands, being that my commander is a wizard. Riptide Laboratory is a fantastic card.
Right.
Instead of killing it, it's back in my hand, and now I don't have the commander tax to recast it.
Right.
Because of all the card draw, Reliquary Tower is an almost absolute must.
Right.
You're going to get to a point where you're playing all these take extra turn cards. You're going to be filling up your hand with card draw, trying to get to your win conditions, which we haven't got to yet.
Right.
So Reliquary Tower is pretty important, and being able to keep a mix of cards that you don't want to discard to your graveyard. And then finally, Command Beacon allows you to, of course, avoid the commander tax once by sacking it and getting it. If you're smart, you're killing my commander. If I cast my commander on turn 4,
you've got to get it out of range. You've got to.
You leave it out there for a couple of turns. Yeah. You're in so much trouble.
Yeah, you're definitely going to run away with the game.
Yeah. Red and blue don't really lend themselves to mana ramp very well, so I've got a lot of mana rocks, a lot of them. There's 12 in the deck.
Wow.
That's
okay. I was going to ask you about the artifacts there. I didn't realize they were all
almost
exclusively. I was going to say they're almost all mana rocks, right?
Almost all of them.
Okay. I see a scroll rack in there though.
You do. Yeah. There's a couple of cards: Lotus Petal, Mana Vault, Scroll Rack. But so many rocks, from Is it Cluestone, Is it Signet, Is it Locket, Felvar Stone. I go up as high as Hedron Archive. Most of these are between 1 and 2, or actually 0 and 2 mana cost spells. Not many. I think only 3 of them or 3 or 4 are 3 or more. Okay. It's pretty low to the ground. You want them early so that you can hopefully cheat out your commander at least a turn early. Get things rolling before people have the ability to start sniping you. Right. The thing about this deck, 3 board wipes, Blasphemous Act, Crush Tentacles, and of course the legendary Cyclonic Rift is in there. Of course. Which, when you're playing blue, you pretty much got to. Well, you don't have to, but it's such a feel bad when somebody casts that card against you. But,
what is that gleam in your eye, though? You're calling it a feel bad one, but now when you're casting it, sure. Right. Okay. And then, go ahead. No, I've got another question for you after that. What was the next thing you were going to talk about, though? I was going to talk, there's some utility cards in here and then win conditions. So let's talk about both of those, and then my question is a general question after that. Okay. So some utility cards. Vandal Blast is one of my favorite utility cards. Sure. And, one of the most, in my opinion, most busted play in Commander is turn 1 Soul Ring. Turn 1 Soul Ring. I hate turn 1 Soul Ring. As a matter of fact, I'm open to the idea of banning Soul Ring.
Not banning it, but of like having a group dynamic, just agreement where we don't play turn 1 Soul Ring. It is busted whether I'm playing it or somebody else is. It's just, it just puts you out so far ahead. But
Okay.
anyway, that's just a personal opinion of mine. Of course, I'm playing Soul Ring, and as long as we're allowed to play Soul Ring,
sure, you're
I'll
going
be
to play.
happy to play turn 1 Soul Ring.
Yeah,
So Vandal Blast is a nice answer to that.
sure.
I wanted to play some of the more newer cards in this deck, so I've got cards like Thousand Year Storm.
Thousand Year Storm, sure.
I have Beacon Bolt, which I think is a really weak addition to this deck, but I threw it in there because again, it's
Okay.
and it's new. It's a
Sure.
new toy.
Okay.
Wanted to play with new toys. Rider Replication can do some pretty funny things.
Yes.
Expansion Explosion is in there.
Awesome.
Capsize is in there.
Yeah.
And Past in Flames is a powerhouse in here. It's,
Yeah.
if you've got your commander out and you have access to a lot more card draw, and it helps with one of my win conditions. I have 3 win conditions.
Just
in the
3
deck.
win conditions.
That's it.
Okay.
Well, maybe 4.
Okay.
All right. So one of them is just beating you down with Mizzix, which is a ridiculous way to go. Since I'm hitting you for 2,
Right.
I need to hit you 11 times in order to kill you.
If you're taking all the turns and nobody else is doing anything else,
and if you're not willing to concede by then,
yeah,
I'll smack you 11 times.
Exactly. Oh, what was that?
I'll relose my-
That's going. And whenever you're ready. So we were talking about the feel bad beat down of being trounced by Mizzix of the Izmagnus.
Oh, right. So we just had a little technical difficulty there. We lost the battery.
You weren't supposed to tell them. They would
I'm not-
never have noticed that. They would have never noticed.
Oh.
Seriously? No, they have absolutely not. That's fine.
I know.
Anybody watching this knows it's a work in progress at this point.
But your editing skills are getting very good. Maybe
Thank
they
you.
wouldn't have noticed.
Maybe not. But anyhow,
All right. So a couple of ways to beat you down. Niv Mizzet Perun is the new iteration of Niv Mizzet, and getting hit for 5 isn't too bad. But also with all the card draw that I have, smacking around 1 after taking a point every time I'm drawing another card.
right.
That's going to add up pretty quickly.
And is that when they draw? What is the deal with him?
Whenever you draw a card.
Whenever you draw a card. Okay.
Whenever I draw a card.
Right.
Deal 1 damage to any target.
Okay.
So just 1 to your face.
Let me see him with me.
Absolutely. I think you could put it up on the screen for your viewers.
No, I'm actually going to throw this away. So, whenever a player casts an answer spell, you draw a card. I knew there was some other effect on there that was annoying. Yeah.
And then Aether Flux Reservoir. It's whenever you cast a spell, you gain 1 life for each spell you've cast this turn.
Right.
You can imagine with all the card draw and making it cheaper, you could cast lots of spells in a turn, getting you to over 50 life, and then you can pay 50 life, do 50 damage to the target, and you're very likely just dead.
You don't have any storm cards in there, or are there a couple?
No.
No storm cards. You chose not to go with storm cards.
Yeah, I don't.
Or
I've
you-
never played a storm strategy
Okay.
in any kind of format.
Okay.
Whether a commander, storm's pretty powerful in Legacy. I don't know if there's a good modern deck out there with a storm mechanic, but I've never played the storm mechanic, so I just didn't
Chose
include
not
that
to. Okay.
as a strategy in this deck.
Fair enough. And those are your win conditions then, or you had?
Yeah, 1 more. Sentinel Tower, similar to Niv. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, whenever an instant or sorcery spell is cast during my turn, Sentinel Tower deals damage to any target equal to 1 plus the number of instant and sorcery spells cast before you. So it
Gotcha.
just increases 1,
Okay.
2, 3, 4, 5, the next,
Gotcha.
15, 21, 20, I don't know. I can't remember the progression. But it doesn't take very many spells for you to lose.
So the question that I had, just watching you lay this out and talking about it a little bit now, how do you keep track of your turn over your triggers?
How do I keep track
Yes,
of my
is
turn?
that a problem, or your triggers and stuff throughout? I mean, obviously, I've seen you put out your dice for your turn to
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
and so on. There's so much going on here, though. Are there any techniques that you use, or is it just kind of, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so believe it or not, there's not that much going on. I mean, there's certain triggers, but those triggers are like vital to killing you. So, so a die on Aetherflux Reservoir or a die on Sentinel Tower makes it easy.
Okay. But I'm thinking of
What
keeping
else?
track during the turn as far as casting the spells. Or are you playing turn by turn, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to do, or do you have a set logarithm that you follow? Do you have...
You know, I should probably have one.
I'm not saying I have one or would even think to do that, but just watching and listening to you talk and stuff, I'm thinking about the fact that I'd be overwhelmed. Like, I wouldn't know. Like, actually, I am occasionally with my wizard deck. It's like, wait, now, do I want to stack this trigger on top of this trigger, or are your triggers so focused on taking that next turn or whatever it is that it's easy for you to handle the stack?
No, I'll tell you, the stack gets out of control.
Okay.
And sometimes the way this deck just snowballs to victory, it almost doesn't matter if you miss.
If you miss or you
something.
skip a trigger, okay.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I'm certainly one of my areas that I can improve upon is having a better discipline when it comes to something like that. But it's a commander game, and like I just
We're
don't
almost
care that
always
much.
playing casually,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
so we will go back a turn or two if it makes sense, and maybe not 2 turns or whatever, but at least, you know what I mean?
There's
If
a
you
number of
just-
times where you'll say, "Oh, I forgot to put
I forgot
my
to,
land."
yeah.
Go ahead, put the land on.
Yeah, exactly.
Or, oh, I forgot that 4 life from that trigger.
Right.
Go ahead, add 4 life. You
Right.
know, it's not that.
I'm just picturing in a specific turn,
But
though,
yeah,
being like,
I know what you mean. That's a different situation altogether.
Yeah.
Right? Where you're in the middle of a turn, you've cast your 5th or 6th instant, and triggers might be going on the stack, and keeping track of them is no easy task. And unfortunately, I don't have a magic trick.
you don't have a hack or a shortcut to that.
No.
And I mean, the other thing, so much of what we do and when we play this game is situational. You know, I mean, you've got to have this card in your hand for it to make sense to play it this way. So I guess my other question is, the more you play it, are you going to know what interactions you are looking for and the way to trigger them? I would imagine so. I would imagine as you get familiar with the deck, I think that goes with any Magic deck.
Sure.
The more you are familiar with it, the more you play. Even if you're goldfishing at home, I myself have learned what combos to look for, what cards to put me in a better place to win. What I'm doing right now is, well, I talked about this before and stuff, that while the entire last month of August, I did not play for rank in Arena. Or I mean, I played ranked games or whatever, but I was not pushing to get to Diamond or Mythic or whatever. But what I've found is by playing a number of games and using Arena as a tool, even though I'm playing with a lot of Commander and I'm playing with all these other decks from, I mean, other cards from throughout the entire series of Magic, playing Arena has got me more focused and in the habit of looking for the plays that need to be made, the lines of play that should be taken. And even if those cards aren't the same cards, they are similar, have same effects or whatever. I mean, a lot of the cards are reprints, and you got to face it in Magic. There's tons of reprints. They keep reselling to us. But that's another story for another time. But I think that actually looking for those lines of play is important and helpful anytime that you sit down at the table and stuff. You know what I mean? You're going to play faster. Your turns are going to go a little bit quicker. And stuff.
The one of the things that's nice about this deck is its redundancy and it's how linear it plays.
Right.
So yes, there's a lot of instants and sorceries to be cast in a single turn. Yes, there's triggers that need to be tracked, but you're doing you're looking for the same kind of line
Same
of
effects.
playing.
Okay.
There isn't. This isn't a toolbox deck where you have a lot of different abilities, maybe to go search or to find. There's just a linearity, if that's even a word,
It is now.
of this deck, which I guess in the sense of what you're referring to, makes it easier to play.
Sure. Okay. I suspected as much, and I think that regardless of the card you're using, if you're digging for a card, you're digging for a card. Does that lead to a boring time playing the deck? Now, you said you don't play it a lot, so obviously it's going to be different each time you play it out.
It's never boring to play the deck. But you're the only
you're
person
playing Arch Enemy every time is what you're playing. You're either playing
You
Arch
are-
Enemy or you're playing Solitaire. It's kind of one or the other.
There's a lot to do, and you're doing it all. So
Well,
that's interesting for me. Not so interesting for the three other people playing at the table with you.
Or looking at it from the other side, it is interesting to see how am I going to stop him this time, or what do I do? What do I have to do?
You're a better man than I, Mike. You're a better man than I, because I will literally just go on my phone and start looking at iPhones. I'm like, just tell me when it's my turn, or I'm dead. Just tell me.
Like I said, we're opposite ends of the spectrum. So
should I concede? Nah, you go through. You do
you
thing.
do your thing.
I'm
It's
gonna be over
okay.
here playing solitaire, literally on my phone or something. I don't know.
Well, fair enough. Well, thank you for sharing the deck with me. I think that's. I think we pretty well covered it. I'm looking forward to. I want to get Brian on here next and have him dissect one of his decks.
Cool.
And get Enrique on here, obviously, too, to do that. But thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, pleasure.
For those of you that are new, if there's anybody new watching us, like, comment, and subscribe if you are in the Manhattan Beach area. On a Monday night, you're absolutely welcome to come down here and join me. I'm interested in getting the viewpoint of other people. I talked quite a bit about our play group. The fact is that I absolutely believe to have a healthy environment, you need to play outside your play group too, and interested in adding more people. At least talking to more people, getting more information, and I think that's it.
Yeah, always fun to have new people join. Oftentimes there's only 2 or 3 of us here, and somebody will just stop by and say, "Hey, you guys are playing Commander. Mind if I jump in?" And man, always welcome to.
The only problem with that is our games tend to be marathon sessions, and they'll come back an hour later, and it's like, yeah, we're still playing that same game.
Yeah, that happens. Sometimes.
That does happen too, also.
That happens too.
But at any rate, thank you for joining us, and see you next time on Tibalt Apprentice.